Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. Let's talk about a movie that doesn't just demand your attention, but grabs your soul and shakes it to its very core. A film that isn't afraid to go into the darkest corners of humanity and shine a light so bright that it might just leave you trembling. I'm talking about The Power of One, a movie that sweeps you into a whirlwind of pain, brutality, but ultimately, hope. A film that takes you to the depths of despair, shows you the horrors of oppression, and then, just when you think all is lost, reminds you of the strength of the human spirit. Set in the turbulent times of apartheid South Africa, The Power of One takes us on the extraordinary journey of a young boy named PK, whose life becomes a metaphor for the struggles and resilience of a nation. But this isn't your typical hero's journey. No, this film doesn't go easy on you. It isn't afraid to show you blood, loss, betrayal, and the raw ugliness of hatred. This movie wants you to feel every punch, every lash, every moment of humiliation, and boy, you will feel it. A world bathed in shadow and pain. The movie begins in a world that feels like it's suffocating under the weight of oppression. A South Africa torn apart by the brutality of apartheid. A world where hatred is the currency and segregation is the law. This is not a land of hope. It's a land of division, of cruelty, of inhumanity, and it's into this brutal backdrop that PK is born. A young, innocent child who quickly learns that the world is anything but fair. PK's childhood is torn apart by the loss of his parents, leaving him in the cold, harsh embrace of a boarding school, a place that's less an institution of learning and more a breeding ground for violence and bullying. From the first moment, you're there with him. You feel the icy grip of fear as he's singled out, humiliated, and abused by older boys who seem to have hatred running through their veins. This isn't just a sad backstory. This is the heart of the movie's message. The world is broken. People are flawed. Cruelty is real. But even in these moments, when PK is at his lowest, when the world seems to be crushing him into dust, there's something else. There's a flicker of hope, a tiny flame of resistance that refuses to be extinguished. The turning point comes with Doc, played brilliantly by Armin Muller-Stahl, a kind, eccentric German music teacher who becomes PK's guardian, mentor, and friend. If PK's early years are about the suffocating darkness of despair, Doc is the candlelight in the storm. He introduces PK to the power of the human spirit, to the transformative strength of knowledge, and to the possibility that one person can make a difference, even if it's only a tiny difference. Doc's imprisonment, unjust, undeserved, but all too real, further hammers home the themes of injustice. But it's also a lesson for PK, a reminder that sometimes life will take away what you hold dear, but you can't give up. You can't back down. Doc's guidance becomes a cornerstone for PK's journey, the foundation of his growing resistance against a society that thrives on hatred. Boxing as a symbol of power and redemption. And then comes boxing, the most visceral, brutal, and cathartic metaphor in the entire film. PK learns to box, and suddenly it's not just about survival. It's about standing up, about refusing to be beaten, about learning to face his fears head-on. Each punch, each fight is a step toward reclaiming his power, toward saying, "I will not be broken." The boxing ring is where PK finds his strength, not just physically, but emotionally. It's a place where he can face his demons, and ultimately, a place where he can rise above them. You see, The Power of One isn't just a story about a boy who becomes a boxer. It's a story about a boy who learns that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you, even when the world tells you to stay silent. It's about learning that real power isn't about throwing punches, but about having the courage to stand up when you'd rather lie down. The darkness of hatred, the power of unity. And let's not gloss over the film's portrayal of apartheid. This movie doesn't pull punches. It drags you kicking and screaming into the harsh reality of racial segregation. The hatred and division are palpable, oozing from every frame, every line, every interaction. You'll find yourself enraged, disgusted, wanting to scream at the screen. Why is the world like this? The film forces you to confront the ugliest parts of human nature, the parts we like to pretend don't exist, but are all too real. But PK doesn't face this darkness alone. He finds allies in the unlikeliest of places. Gideon Duma, a fearless boxer who becomes a bruh friend, a comrade in arms. There's Gil Piet, a man beaten down by the world, who becomes the embodiment of courage and sacrifice. These characters are more than just friends. They are symbols of resistance, of solidarity, of the unbreakable bond that forms when people are united in a common cause. They are reminders that yes, hatred exists, but so does love. Cruelty thrives, but so does compassion. As PK grows, as he fights back, as he learns the power of one person to make a difference, the film's tone begins to shift. It's subtle at first, just a glimmer of light in the darkness. A small victory here, a defiant act there. And then, suddenly, it's as if the dam breaks and the floodwaters of hope come pouring in. PK, the boy who was once broken and beaten, becomes a leader, a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for those who have none. The movie's finale is a crescendo of emotion, a pulse-pounding symphony of triumph and tragedy. It's raw, it's visceral, and it's beautiful. PK's journey is not about achieving some grand cinematic victory. It's about the quiet victories, the personal triumphs, the small moments of defiance that say, "I will not be defeated." The redemption arc is not about defeating an enemy. It's about finding hope where none exists. About realizing that sometimes the greatest battles are fought in the heart, not in the ring. It's about the courage to stand up, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. The Power of One is not a feel-good movie. It's not a happily ever after tale. It's a movie that digs deep, that rips open old wounds, that makes you question the nature of humanity, the power of hatred, and the strength of hope. It's a movie that takes you to the edge of despair, and then, when you least expect it, pulls you back with the fierce, unrelenting message that one person can make a difference. The movie's grit, its rawness, its willingness to show the world as it truly is, ugly, brutal, and unforgiving, make the moments of hope all the more powerful. It's easy to paint a picture of a perfect world where good triumphs over evil with ease, but The Power of One doesn't take the easy road. It knows that victory is messy, that redemption isn't a clean, simple thing. It knows that sometimes, to find the light, you have to be willing to walk through the darkest of shadows. The Power of One is not just a movie. It's an experience. It's a lesson. It's a challenge to every single one of us to look at the world around us and ask, what can I do? What difference can I make? It's a story that grabs you by the throat, shakes you until you can't breathe, and then, just when you think you can't take anymore, it lets you go. It gives you hope. It reminds you that sometimes, the power of one person is enough to change everything. This movie is a roller coaster of emotion, anger, sorrow, joy, and inspiration, all wrapped up in a narrative that demands to be told, to be heard, to be felt.